Today we're going to show you how to replace the front brake pads on a 2007 Toyota RAV4. This is a V6 limited front wheel drive. First thing you want to do is make sure you have the e-brake on. So set that e-brake. You want to loosen your lug nuts before you jack the car up. So go ahead and loosen those guys. Alright, now you jack the car up. There's a specific spot to set your jack if you're just doing one side at a time. And you can see that there's some indentions for the jack to go into. So, and then we also have jack stands just as a second support system. And now we're going to jack the car up. Jack the car up so that the tire can move freely. Now you want to remove the lug nut so that you can take the tire off. Tire off. And you can even use it as a third precaution. Slide it under the side of your car. So you put a piece of wood under it, and that will just be a nice little third precaution to be safe. Now when we look at the brakes, you have the caliper on the right and the rotor here. The brake pads are inside the caliper, so we want to take the caliper off. And there are two bolts. And this seems pretty standard. There's a bolt right here, and then there's another bolt underneath, straight down. So we'll go ahead and we're going to spray some PB Blaster on these bolts, the one right here and the other one right there. Let's see if I can focus on it. The other bolt is right here. Here, do that again. Loosen the bolt. Alright, got one. And go ahead and get the other one. So it doesn't fall. We've got a bungee for this car. You can't really set the caliper anywhere, so we're going to set a bungee under what are called the slide pins. There by the rubber piece. Probably don't want it to hit the rubber piece. Put it over the metal part. See, now it's pretty free to move. I'm going to pull it off of the rotor and put the other end of the bungee. And look, now you don't have to hold it. You just really want to make sure that this brake line here isn't stressed. So while you're working on it, make sure you don't ruin this brake line here. Alright, now that we've got the caliper off, we're going to go ahead and take the old brake pads out. If you were going to replace the rotors on this car, all you would have to do is once that caliper was off, the rotor is right here. And all you really have to do is, if there's a screw in the rotor, like kind of in the same sort of area that these lug nuts are, you just unscrew those screws, and then you literally just slide the rotor off and put the new rotor on. So that's the only difference in this job. If you wanted to do rotors, we could have showed you that, but we didn't have rotors. Now the brake pads, the two brake pads, one's sitting here and one is sitting right in there. We're going to pop them out. Should come out pretty easily. Before we pop it all the way out though, we're going to want to depress. We've got a nice tool from Harbor Freight here to depress this piston. The piston is right here, and we want to make sure the piston is pushed back in this way, that way. We want to make sure the piston's all the way back in before we replace the brake pads. So with the old brake pads still in, we're doing this. Our lovely Harbor Freight tool here. $4. You had to take the handle off to get that through there. Now while he cranks that, it pushes this piston back in. See it? Yep. That's good. Thank you, neighbor, for weed eating right while we're trying to make a video. That should be good. We have to take that handle back off. The only way we've found to do that is to unscrew the thing all the way down, and then it gives enough that we can undo the handle. Alright, get that thing out of there. Now we can pop the other brake pad out. It just pops right out. Alright, now we're going to give it a good spray down with some brake cleaner before we do anything. And that stuff comes out fast, so just go ahead and soak it. Let me get down in, see. There you go, that's good. And then you can wipe down the inside a little bit with a rag. Just in here where you're going to be putting the new stuff in. Just do a little wipe down on the inside there where the brake pads are actually going to go. We're just trying to be thorough here. First things first, we're going to lube up the back of the brake pads with some Sil-Glide brake lubricant. It's supposed to help reduce some squeal. Well, hopefully it does. Just spread a little bit on there, on the back rubber part, not on the brake pad, but that back rubber part. Of course, you don't want to get dirt on your pads either, but just be careful. We're gonna go ahead and transfer this piece over, and it was on this side. So if you look close, there's that little center piece right there. That little center piece is gonna go into this little groove right there, this little groove right here. So go ahead and get that center piece lined up, and that one just press down in. Alright, that's all you do. Now we're gonna go ahead and replace the brake pads. Alright, so when you're putting these pads back in, just remember that the long side in the groove is going down, like that's going down in. So basically it's gonna go in like that. Okay, and then the other side, they're both gonna go down in like this. The other side will be like that. That's something kind of important. And these tabs right here, that tab and that tab need to clip in. That's what you're working on. You're trying to get these two tabs to clip in. All right, so that's what's gonna be the goal here, the obstacle. Easiest way to show you how to do that and what you're fighting with, we got the new pad in, is from the back side. Alright, there are these tabs, and can you hold it like that? Yeah, okay. These tabs right here, you might have to get a screwdriver to lift this up so that you can fit each side where it needs to go. See? There's these metal pieces right here. You're gonna have to maybe pry a screwdriver in there to lift and clip this side in, and then slide this other side in. But that's how you get that in. One thing to keep in mind is you gotta really make sure that this gap here between the pads is big enough before you try to slide the caliper over. See how there's a gap that's big enough? Alright, if there's not, you gotta depress that piston back in again, and we had to do that. So just keep that in mind now. All that's left to do is replace these bolts. One bolt there, and then the one lower. We got the two bolts started, yeah. Now we're going to tighten them up. We should be good to put our tire back on. Make sure that you take the bungee out that you had in there, if you had one. And then go ahead and loosely tighten up your lug nuts. You slide your tire back on, loosely tighten those lug nuts back up. You don't want to tighten them all the way till you get it down. And obviously the logic in that is that you don't want this car rocking while it's up on the jack. While you're tightening, you're going to loosely tighten these lug nuts, and you're going to go in a crisscross pattern, as in you're going to go to this one and then this one and then that one. It helps because it slides it up that way and then it evens it out that way. Slides it up this way, evens it out this way. You'll be surprised by how much more you can tighten one up once you do the other one across from it. Once those lug nuts are loosely tightened in a crisscross pattern, go ahead and let the jack down. Remove your jack stand first, of course. Let the car down. And ours wasn't really jacked up that high, so it didn't really come down a whole lot. And now you can go ahead and tighten those lug nuts, and we know that the torque, if you have a torque wrench, is
76
foot-pounds.
76 foot-pounds.
And so if you want to tighten those with a torque wrench, you're going to go to 76 foot-pounds. And that is going to finish your brake pad job.